Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of From Adversity to Awakening, transforming hardships into greater spiritual connection and joy. I am your host, Peggy O'Neill. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad I'm here because today we're going to have an awesome session. We're going to talk about resiliency, the third part of resiliency, and the name of this particular episode is The Secret Key. What could that be? Okay, well, we're going to talk about it in a little bit. So, a little bit about me. If you've been following the episodes, you know I'm a little person. I stand 3.5 feet tall, 3 feet 8 inches exactly, a whopping, yeah. And I have, of course, experienced lots of challenges. So, difficulties with fitting into furniture, clothing, everything, driving the car, renting the car, all that stuff. And then there's emotional issues of kids laughing and pointing and teasing as a kid. You're getting a lot of bullying as a kid, and the romantic situation and the getting a job situation. I mean, lots of challenges. So to get through all of that and to become, I've been very blessed and honored that I've been able to carve a path of success, and I'm an author, uh, keynote speaker, corporate trainer, school assembly presenter on anti-bullying, as well as a coach and a trauma therapist. So not only have I learned a lot, but I've been able to give a lot too, and I hope that this is helpful for you. So before we get into it, I want to invite you to subscribe so that you get updates about our further and future episodes. You'll get an email every other week announcing the next episode of From Adversity to Awakening. If you're already subscribed, and if you haven't, even I would love if you would write a review. Go to Apple or wherever you're listening, and write a review, and that would be a super cool gift for me. And if you want to know any more about what I do, how I might be able to help you personally, your organization, or your school, go to peggyspeaks.com, just how it sounds, peggyspeaks.com. Okay, so I'm a self-proclaimed resiliency expert, but I think a lot of other people would agree. And what is resiliency? So, resiliency is that ability to navigate through challenges, to move through them, to not get stopped by them, and to emerge stronger with more understanding, with more wisdom, and to actually be able to lead. So, this is one of the great things about resiliency is not only do you not get stopped in your path, but you can support others in not getting stopped in their path for them to continue to progress and evolve and grow and fulfill their potential. So if you haven't seen, there's two other episodes in the From Adversity to Awakening series where I spoke about resiliency. There was part one and part two. In part one, I talked about the importance of a positive mindset. Very important for resiliency to be thinking positive thoughts, and also to focus on the things that you can change. And that was actually the topic of my newsletter this October 2024. So if you haven't familiarized yourself with either of those, you might want to have a look at them and give you a little bit more foundation for what I'm going to talk about today. You could do it before or after you watch this, doesn't matter. And then in part two, I talked about finding the gift in your challenge, another super important part of resiliency of shifting your perspective of why is this happening to me into how is this challenge helping me to learn, to grow, and to evolve? How is it helping me become a bigger, better person? How is it helping me to move through the challenges and to become an expert at living my life? Yeah, so that's a really cool episode too. You can watch that now or later. So let's talk for a minute about the benefits of resiliency. So the deal about resiliency is that resiliency is that part of it helps us navigate through challenges. And you've probably noticed that life is getting more challenging, right? Yeah. So lots and lots more difficulties in life. And so we need more and more skills at being able to work through those challenges. And that's why myself and many other people are teaching about overcoming challenges and resiliency, two words for the same thing. Well, they're more than two words, but you know what I mean. Anyway, so the benefits of resiliency have to do with that we can continue to progress, that we don't get stopped in our tracks. So many times when challenges come, we collapse. You know, the bigger ones especially, we collapse. We fall down. We don't want to get up again. We don't want to leave the house. We don't want to get out of bed. We sit in front of the TV. We maybe get caught up in addiction or whatever to keep our attention away from the fact that we have failed, that we have shame, that we feel guilt, all of these kinds of things, the difficult things that happen to us. So we need resiliency so that we don't get caught in that downward spiral, and so that we can actually continue to evolve, which is what we're designed to do, what we're here to do. And in evolving, we fulfill our potential, which means we become a fulfilled individual, which means happiness, which is what we're all want to do, right? Feel more happy. So today's episode, as I said, is called The Secret. And it's the secret because not very many people know about this particular uh, skill for um, building resiliency. And so today I'm going to talk about it, and it is called self empathy. So, empathy is kind of a word that makes people feel uncomfortable. You hear the word empathy, and there's a little bit of a, "Ooh, I don't really know what that is. I don't really know if I know how to do it," because guess what? None of us learned it in school. A lot of us didn't learn it in our families, and a lot of it certainly haven't learned it in the workplace, unless you've been at one of my programs. So, if you want your folks to be more empathetic at your work, give me a call. So we we maybe didn't learn empathy, but we are wired for empathy. So if we're like sitting on the porch and one of your kids comes crying and comes to you, often that natural compassion, that empathy will arise. We'll hold the child, we'll allow them their emotions, we'll say, "Show me where it hurts." And then empathy is sort of mirroring that you understand that what another person's feeling. And it can even be joy, when you're at a comedy club or you're watching a TV show or a movie and something really funny happens and you look at the person sitting next to you and you get that extra shot of energy that goes up. Yeah, that is empathy. But also empathy is that portion in us that can be with another when they're having a difficulty. So it might be the child, and we might hug the child. We might say, "Oh, I see it hurts. Show me where it hurts." And we be in a state basically of acceptance. We accept that this difficulty has arisen. We accept that these difficult or negative emotions, sadness, hurt, maybe the raging, whatever it is, that these emotions are arising. So if we can shift that to a pet, it's pretty easy to let our empathy arise when our pets are hurting or ill, and even with our friends, our family, and our coworkers. So then, self-empathy is just going like the next step to applying that compassion, that understanding, that sort of mercy for ourselves. But sometimes that really makes people feel uncomfortable. So I'm going to sort of guide you through. I'm going to share with you a couple of things that you can do, like some steps, one, two, three, and then I'm going to share with you an experience of applying empathy with myself. And then at the end, I'll give you actually a concrete exercise so that you can practice, right? So, we're most of us aren't really very good at empathy and especially at self-empathy because nobody ever talks about it. Nobody ever says, "Okay, this is something that's needed," unless you've been in therapy for about 15 years. So, well, hopefully you have a good therapist and they tell you about it in the first month. Anyway, we're going to talk about that today. So, one of the things, the beginning, we want to start with an understanding and an atmosphere of acceptance for our humanness. So this is one of the things that sort of sets the stage for empathy, is to accept that we are designed to make mistakes. We're designed to fail. We're designed to um, feel guilt and shame. We're designed to uh, do things that hurt other. Well, we're not designed for that, but we are designed to make mistakes and to fail for sure. And the reason is because life is designed so that we have challenges so that we learn and grow. And how can we do everything? We can't succeed when we don't really know what we're doing, right? So the first time maybe you made a cake, or the first time you drove a car, or the first time you tried to write a love letter, I don't know, a zillion things, tried to write a essay for an exam for an English class. It's not always, let's just say practice makes things better, right? So we're designed to make mistakes so that we learn and grow. That's just part of the deal. So, and then the second thing that we want to bring an atmosphere of acceptance to is that negative emotions are difficult to deal with. So, emotions like anger, hatred, rage, terror, fear, shame, guilt, on and on. These emotions are very difficult to deal with. And they often arise in times of challenges. So that's why we're going to take a little sidebar here and talk about negative emotions for a couple of minutes. So, fortunately, it's becoming more and more popular these days that people are learning that when we hold down the negative energies, we also hold down our ability to feel joy. So it's like if you say no to experiencing my sadness and hurt, then you're also going to develop this sort of rusty wheel around your ability to feel positive emotions as well. So that's one reason that we want to find a way to not let that negative energy get stuck. Because as a kid, what were we told? Big boys don't cry, little girls don't get angry, good girls don't get angry. Push those feelings down. Stop crying. Stop emoting. Stop acting out. Stop doing this. And we all, especially in school, was like major. There was no space for any difficult emotion. You had to squelch all that stuff and stay in your little desk and repress everything and push it down. And depending on how your family's attitude towards emoting, you got, depending on how they were, then you got messages about that. But most of us got messages about putting a lid on it, right? Putting a lid on those negative emotions. And when we put a lid on it, when we repress them, when we stop the energy, then it gets stuck in our body. And when energy is stuck in our body, the flow of life, chi, cannot flow and it gets stuck. And when the energy and the chi is stuck, then what happens? Disease, mental, emotional, physical, they all happen. So, because none of us want to be having any of those experiences or minimize them as much as possible, uh, it is really a great idea to try to let those emotions to 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 bring acceptance to the fact that they're difficult to feel, to put on our big girl and boy pants and drum up our courage and sit and be with our emotions. And I'm going to talk about that more in a minute, but also want to say that we may not have learned this from our parents or in school or anything about how to move through our emotions, but we are evolving beings and we want to do like our parents did better than their parents. We want to do better than our parents. So, one of the ways that we can do this is by learning the skill of processing and digesting emotions. So, it's sort of like if you eat a meal and you don't let your and it's somehow your food doesn't get digested, right? It sits in your stomach, makes pain, it makes disease. Same thing with your emotions, right? So it's a very good metaphor. So we want to have an acceptance to the fact that when challenges come, excuse me, difficult emotions come up, negative emotions come up, and negative emotions are difficult to feel, to be with. So we want to drum up our courage, drum up our inner strength. And then step number 3 in practicing self-empathy is to allow ourselves to sit and feel whatever it is that we're feeling. So what we might be feeling is sadness. So we take a time out, go in a room, turn off our phone, close the door, sit down, and just let maybe lay on the bed and let bring up the situation in your mind and give yourself permission to let the tears flow. If you're feeling angry, you might go to the gym and punch the bag. I often punch pillows on my bed. Um, we don't want to act that stuff out on other people. We want to just keep it between ourselves and ourselves. So with terror and rage, we can just sit and let ourselves feel it. And just maybe there's some shaking that comes up, but to just let those emotions wash through. It's just like a river flows through the river. And as we are experiencing the emotions, we'll often notice, especially hurt and sadness, we're going to notice that compassion arises from inside. Sometimes strength, sometimes joy, sometimes clarity. Often clarity will also arise from inside. We'll have an insight about why this happened, what we're learning, what's next for us to do. But first, we want to just focus on paying attention to what's arising inside and let ourselves receive it. So it just is like, okay, I'm crying, and then if I'm laying on my bed, I let all that go, and then so it sort of dies down, and there's no more big emotion. We're laying there, taking a couple of deep breaths, and just sense inside your body, and be present, and just notice what's happening there. And you may notice this compassion arising for the difficult situation that you are in presently, or maybe that you were in a very difficult situation in the past that you had no control over. Maybe you had an abusive parent, maybe a grandparent, maybe you had a really strict teacher that really picked you out and picked on you all the time. Maybe people said critical, mean things to you. Maybe people, you got beat up, whatever it is. The compassion can arise, and as you receive it, that is actually the act of self-empathy. As you sit with a friend and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry this is happening. This is so tragic." And you just let them know that you understand what they're feeling, and then the healing balm comes and they somehow magically the difficulty evaporates and goes away. It's the same thing with ourselves. When we allow ourselves to feel and receive the understanding that things have been difficult, and it's sad, it's too bad, it's like a bummer. And we let ourselves see what a difficult situation we have been in and receive the feeling of that empathy. That will be like a healing balm that goes through our nervous system and allows the difficulty and that stuck energy that's been there to evaporate. And then we are much more present. We're much more able, much less reactive, and much more able to bounce back, or I call it spring back, which is the title of my book, which is subtitle is 5 Secrets to Building Resiliency. And you can get that on my website, PeggySpeaks.com/books. So you can find that and then read the whole thing if you want. It's not a very long book. It's called a mini book. Anyway, so that's what we do with the sorry, with the developing the skill of empathy. We want to accept our humanness, accept that negative emotions are difficult to feel, and give ourselves permission to feeling them. We want to sit with the feelings and feel them. And then we want to notice what rises up inside of us and receive it. And then we want to spring back. Yeah. Okay. So, I apply self-empathy to myself all the time. I have all kinds of difficulties. And a recent difficulty and a recent time I sat with myself, I woke up in the morning and I noticed that I felt sad and I didn't really have anything to feel sad about, I thought. And so I was like, walking around like this, starting to get ready for my day. And I was like, you know what? It's time for a timeout. So I went in my room and I closed the door, turned off my phone, and I just lay down on my bed and I started to take a couple of deep breaths. And I just invited whatever was there to come up to the surface and just let myself feel what was going on inside of me, to just see the truth of what is happening in this moment. And as I inquired into that, I started to notice that I was feeling very sad because I was feeling not successful about some of my recent efforts in my business. So I had developed some work and not had success, and people uh, chiming in or joining in or coming showing up for this or that, and I was feeling sad. And so I just let myself continue to breathe deeply, and then the tears started to flow. I started feeling, my heart hurting, and like some guilt and some shame for sure, and sadness. And I just let myself feel all of that. And as I did, I started to also, a couple minutes, 3, 4 minutes went by, not too long. I started to recognize that there was a loving presence that was there inside of me, that was there for me and holding me and letting me know that my efforts, even though they haven't been met with success yet, are noted or in the going in the right direction, and that it's okay. And sort of that lesson about we don't always succeed at things at the beginning, and it's a learning process, and we can continue to learn and grow and evolve and um, make the things that we do better or make our behavior better. So as I saw that, I just sort of like all of that other sadness and all the constriction and all of the angst that was inside of me just melted away. And I sat there and I had my hands on my chest and I just let myself feel, okay, all is well and I'm okay. And I can continue going and I can continue to get support, see how I can do these things better, and I can continue to move forward. So that's an example from my own life recently. And now, I mean, maybe you could think of time recently in your life when you felt like a failure, or you felt like a big mistake, or you felt guilty about something, or sometime when you were feeling really down, and just see how you responded. Did you take a time out? Did you go in your room and close the door? Did you give yourself a few minutes, or if you're at work, like go out to your car or go in the bathroom and close the door? Like, did you run away from it? Did you distract yourself? Did you turn on the TV? Did you turn on your phone and look at how many comments you got on your recent Instagram post? There's all kinds of things that we do to distract ourselves, right? Eat, whatever. I mean, that's a lot about what addictions are. It's just to distract ourselves from all those difficult emotions. And if we would just take some time outs and let ourselves be with them, then we could heal those difficult emotions, the negative emotions, and then they wouldn't be sort of pulling on us all the time. So lots of benefits to digesting our difficult emotions. Okay, so I told you at the beginning I was going to give you an exercise and some instructions on how to practice self-empathy, sort of the beginner's view. And what you can do for that is to get 2 chairs. So, put a chair here and put a chair here and put them so they're sort of facing, they can either face themselves directly or at an angle. And and there's only one person, that would be you. And you're gonna start out in one chair. So one chair is gonna represent your hurt self. So whether this is, gonna call it younger self. So it would probably be from an incident before today. And then the other chair is going to be your resourceful self, your adult self, the part of you that has resources and has wisdom and has capacity to ask for help and has capacity to learn new things and has capacity, a lot of capacities, right? So I'm going to have one resource self and one younger self. And I want you to sit in the chair of the younger self and, you know, identify this is where my resource self is going to be sitting in a little bit. And right now I'm sitting in my younger self chair. So then what you're going to do is close your eyes, sit comfortably, take a couple of deep breaths, and let yourself recall the situation that you're needing empathy for. Recall the situation that was difficult, that you're feeling shame or hurt or fear, whatever it is, and bring it to mind. And then I want you to sense into that younger part of yourself, to the heart of their pain. So you might sense your heart and let yourself imagine that that's the heart of your younger self and sense what's there. And you might ask, what am I feeling right now? What's that younger part of me feeling? If I say child, it means younger self. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be it happened when you were a child, but a lot of things we need empathy for are from our childhood. So we want to check in with our heart, see what is it that I'm feeling? Is it anger? Is it fear? Is it anxiety? Is it sadness? Is it rage? Is it all the above? So hopefully it's not. If it is all the above, try to go with the one that is probably that is most prominent. So then you're feeling your feelings, and so then give yourself permission to go ahead and feel the feeling. So let's say it's hurt. Somebody did something that abandoned you. Okay, it's a good one. We've all felt that before. So let yourself see the situation wherever you were in your life, if you were young, in the middle, or recent experience, and let yourself see yourself in the situation and sense what happens in the heart of that younger self. And then just let yourself feel those emotions. Good idea to have some Kleenex on hand. You might cry. So you just let yourself feel it for a couple of moments. And then you want to speak to your resourced adult. Imagine your resourced adult sitting in the other chair. You want to speak to that part of yourself and let him or her know what your experience is. So it might be something like, it hurt so much because my father left our family when I was 5 years old. And he never came back and he never reached out to me. And, I mean, this is a big hurt. So we can, this maybe we might need to work on this one more than once, but just for today, we could just say, and I just feel it's so, I'm so sad. I miss my daddy and I want him to be here for me. And I want to talk to him and play with him and have him troll me around up in the air. So you can just talk for a minute or two and then take a deep breath, let it go. And then you can get up and put yourself in the resource chair. And then you want to become the resourced adult and speak to the child about the situation. So you might say something like, I see, this would be with empathy. And the big thing of empathy is that you let the person know that you understand that they are feeling pain and you resonate with their pain so they know that you know what you're feeling. So you don't just say, I know that you're feeling sad. You also remember a time when you were sad and can feel sad. So that works really well with others and with yourself. I mean, of course, you're going to be feeling sad because you just witnessed your child saying this incredibly hurtful thing. So you say, I feel so sad hearing that you went through that. And I feel so bad that you had to experience that and that you've been carrying that around your whole life. And it's made you afraid to open your heart. and I'm here and I love you. And then whatever the resourceful part wants to say to that hurt part, I'm just making something up. And then you switch back to the younger child and let the child speak again about how that child feels about receiving that information from the adult. And they will have, it's like when they hear the resource self say, I get that. I see that you are so sad. I see that this is so unfortunate that you had to go through that. This part over here, this, even though it's inside here, it actually is like a balm of healing. And it just like spreads like a beautiful, soft velvet purple light, violet light through the through your body, and it just dissolves the pain. So when the child comes back, it's going to say, well, I'm so glad that you can hear that I'm sad and I haven't shared this with anybody my whole life. And thank you so much for being with me in this very difficult place. And then you might want to switch again. And then the resource person says, I'm here for you and I love you so much. Why don't you come over here and let me hug you? And then you might switch. And then, you could do when the child comes together, you can imagine that you're allowing going over and sitting in the lap of the resource person, of your resource self, and letting the love be, letting that resourced adult part love that child part, love the younger part, give them love and affection and compassion, and be with them in their difficulty. And let the child receive it and breathe it in. You want to switch back and forth of giving the love and feeling what it feels like to receive the compassion, the empathy, the love. And as you do that, notice what transforms. It's just like when a child comes up and says, Mommy, I have a boo-boo. And the mother says, Oh, honey, let's go get a Band-Aid and puts it on. And, that's sort of more like a ritual of empathy. The kid like runs off and goes to play. It's completely a non-event anymore. So not that difficult of an experience will become non-event after 5 or 10 minutes of doing this exercise, but there will be a significant shift in the space of the emotion of your emotional heart and your ability to be present for yourself, to be present for others in their difficulty, and to have an open and happy heart. So I've written this exercise out in my book, Spring Back. It's in chapter 4 called Self-Empathy. And you can read it in there, this step by step, if that was, or listen to this again and you could take some notes. I hope that's helpful. One of the things I want to say about developing self-empathy, probably the biggest benefit of it, is that it allows us to, as we practice with ourselves, it allows us to be really good at it with others. And really all a therapist is a person who knows how to accept humanness, accept that negative emotions are difficulty, and sit and be with someone and maybe, ask a couple of questions. But the first three things are what really creates the healing. And when we're able to give ourselves those things, which I just guided you through those 3 steps, and you'll be able to provide those, you'll be able to resonate with the emotions that the other person is getting. So another way of saying it is you become more emotionally literate. As you become more aware of your own emotions, you'll be able to identify and resonate with others when they're having their emotions, whether it's joy, whether it's sadness, whether it's rage, whatever it is, you'll be able to meet them there. And in that, not only does it create healing for the other person, but it really creates a connection. It creates a deep, deep connection. I mean, think of any time someone came to you and they were crying and you held them and you were with them and you're like, oh my God, sucks. This is so sad. I'm so sorry this is happening to you. And eventually they, go through it, they get done. How much closer are you then? So much closer. So that's probably one of the biggest. There's, the two. benefits of self-empathy is that we can heal ourselves and we can also support others in their healing and reclaiming their happy and open heart, reclaiming their power, reclaiming their ability to keep moving forward, to become more resilient, and to keep moving forward and fulfilling their potential. Okay, guys, that's the secret key, self-empathy. Love you for you to practice it. Please send me a note if you want. You can go Peggy at peggyspeaks.com, and that's my email. Send me an email or send me a comment in the reviews. Love for you to subscribe, invite your friends to the podcast. We love having you here, and I'm so glad that you are interested in overcoming moving from adversity to awakening. And certainly as we develop self-empathy, as we become aware of these uh, experiences of inner compassion and love, self-love, that these are certainly not only things of resiliency, but they are qualities of our own awakening. So, yeah, keep practicing and enjoy the fullness of who you are, what you bring to the world, your amazing self, and what it feels like to be fully awake to the human experience and how glorious that situation is. That's all for today. I'll see you on the next episode. So long for now.